Hello everybody. In this assignment we're going to be looking at the definitions of two potentially confusing words, interpolation and extrapolation. So our scenario here, what we're looking at is that we are given some data which is represented in this graph by these points, and we are given the line of best fit through this data represented by the red dashed line. And so what happens is that when we have a line of best fit through data, that allows us to make predictions. For example, I can use that line of best fit to predict that if my x value is 3, my y value will be somewhere in the neighborhood of -7.5. And so I can make predictions now for any x value using my line of best fit. But it turns out that there's two different types of predictions, and those two types are interpolation and extrapolation. And it comes from this. The domain of my original data set, which is again represented by these red dots. -2 is the smallest x value I have, and +2 is the largest x value I have. And so with these, or anywhere in between those rather, all of those x values are within my data set. So I have data about the points inside that area. And so if I make a prediction about an x value that is inside that data, we call that interpolation. So if the x value I'm making a prediction for is between the two bounds of the domain there, that it's interpolation. And in fact, you can kind of help yourself remember that if you help think that the beginning of interpolation is in. It's inside. In fact, that prefix inter means within. So that is within the data. If you have, on the other hand, if you are making a prediction like we did earlier for 3, which we said would be outside of that, then on the outside you have extrapolation. And extra meaning above or beyond. So the extrapolation is making a prediction that is beyond extra, your data. So on either side, that would represent extrapolation. And the reason this matters, and in fact you'll notice I wrote interpolation in blue and extrapolation in red, is the fact that if we're making a prediction that is interpolation, that is actually a little bit safer of a prediction than when we're doing extrapolation. So the difference is small, but it matters. So let's get ourselves a practice problem here and see what goes on. This says, given the data in the scatter plot to the left, determine if using the regression to predict the value at x equals -2.95 would be considered interpolation or extrapolation. So I need to find that value x equals 2 or -2.95, which would be somewhere around there. So notice that is not within my data set, that is on the outside of my data set. So I would say that this would be extrapolation, and so I would simply select that and say check my answer. And then I can ask for a new problem. Here I have x equals 1.46. So for this one, let me erase my old mark there. X equals 1.46 would be about right there, and you can see that that value is within the domain. And so prediction at x equals 1.46, this would be interpolation. If you are incorrect, it will show you that so that you know that it must have been the other one. And hopefully by the time you get 10 of these correct, you will have a little bit of an understanding of where these names come from.